The Mackay brothers finally fought it out with the win going to Harry, while a nasty injury to Track means the midfield onus falls onto Clary. Simpkin and Larkey lifted the Roos to their first win of the season with a holding the ball free kick causing the Eagles fans to cry treason. The Hawks finals push rolled on in Lonnie through the fog and smoke, and Daisy Thomas swapped his pants at Marvel with some random bloke. To dissect round 13 and look towards a bump for round 14, this is Triple M Footy's midweek rub with two-time All-Australian kick-in extraordinaire Lee Montagna.
Yes, thank you, Rabsy. I'm keen to find out the conclusion to the story with Daisy's jeans and whether he actually got them back or not. But I'll tell you what, it's that time of year where you'd love to go away and just chase some sun for a few days, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm off to Bali next week, so that's all right.
Again, another junket.
Yeah, no, this holiday. Walking trouser dispensary, Daisy Thomas.
Hang on, so where'd you go? The West Indies?
Already been to the Caribbean.
The Caribbean, and now you're going to Bali.
Yeah, next Thursday.
How do we get on this program?
You're getting
Annual
too big
leave.
for your boots. What are you doing?
Talk
Annual
about
leave.
carrying on.
Gee
Wins an
whiz.
award last year
Yes,
and then just
yeah,
rolls
rising
in and
star.
goes, I'll be having a week off here, a month off here.
Yeah.
That's a duck style. That's what duck used to do. Just demand a week
Yeah,
off
no.
in the middle of the winter
I've-
to go to Bali.
I've got a
You're now-
business meeting. Oh, yeah. And a man who
Where's
finally...
Rombo?
And a man who finally has to speak positively about North Melbourne,
Yes.
Daniel
Yes.
Barrett.
Do actually, and we should park some time in our little chats on this particular Wednesday for that, shouldn't we?
You can
Because
do it now. You owe North Melbourne an apology. Are you now
I
on
want-
board?
no, well, I've
No,
been
I
right
read-
the previous
no,
34
no.
weeks, apart from
On
1 week.
this week, you need to look down the barrel of whichever camera and a sincere apology to North Melbourne.
No. We're not going apologies. I was rap for them.
It actually was. It actually was nice. It was a nice feeling to
Bloody
see
oath
them
it
win.
It was nice. It was nice for George Wardlaw to
Yeah.
finally feel what it is to have a win in the AFL system. No, it was good. And again, Dave, sometimes it's good reminding to, as a North supporter from the age when I grew up near Arden Street in North Melbourne, it was just nice to still have that thing kick inside you when it happened. So it was nice.
Hatred.
No, the fact there's a good feeling about a
After the
result
win,
of football.
after the win, yes. No, that was very good. I tell you, a side that does need a win, Melbourne.
Oh, yes.
And I tell you what they need, and we said this last year, and I went public with it. Carlton needed to go and have a bit of a lock-in
In their bye.
in their bye.
Yeah, so a reminder, so the Curnow family farm.
Yep, down in Torquay.
Yep.
All the boys got down there around a bonfire, a couple of suds and an honesty session, and then I think, weirdly, they all went nude in the dam,
Yeah.
which...
Some of them.
But there
Some
was
of
a bit of alcohol for those who wanted.
Yeah, and look,
and you're a massive subscriber.
Well, I am because,
to that event.
you know, and you don't have to get pissed, and we're not talking drinking irresponsibly, just a couple of beers to the point where you're comfortable saying some things maybe you wouldn't sitting in the theaterette at a football club. And from all reports, it worked. So I would not be surprised if Melbourne get on a minibus, head down to Hotel Sorrento, a couple of ponies in the front bar, and then back to a house with a spa, and just sit there.
Wouldn't you
and
go with-
give some bullets, Damo?
But wouldn't you go with the stereotype and maybe head up to the mountains with the white stuff coming down
to
out
the
of the
snow.
sky this
Oh,
week? Wouldn't you
what's
want to go
that?
there?
Hang on.
You mean the
When you-
snow? Yeah.
yeah,
go to
yeah,
the
yeah,
snow.
go to
Sorry,
the
well,
snow.
I'm glad you clarified that. So I meant,
You meant
no,
the snow.
the white stuff did fall out of the sky
the
this
snow.
week, and I'm glad you actually picked up on that because last week the ski season started and there was no snow.
No snow.
But the cold that you're referring to in
No,
Melbourne.
well, you wouldn't want to go up to the snow because you'd run into all the Melbourne supporters. So the Melbourne Footy Club, they need to go the opposite. Get somewhere, but I think together, and you look at some of their players. Clary, we love the way he's turned around, you know, what he was up to in the preseason, the form that he's in. But I subscribe to the fact that he needs a little bit of relaxation.
Yep.
He's been so wound up as to doing everything right,
No,
that
that's what's got him into the problem, isn't it?
being too much on the straight and narrow.
That's
We've all had players, though. Alan Didak was one that the club would try and keep on the straight and narrow. And I'm not talking going out and, you know, being ridiculous. But after he'd have a dinner and a couple of wines, he'd always come out the next week and be better for it.
Yeah, we had play. Jack Stephen was a bit the same. There are some that need to be free-range chickens, Damo. You
Yeah.
can't keep them caged in. You need to let them go free.
They produce their best
Then they
eggs.
come back. And
And then they come back to roost.
And there's an egg shortage right now too at the
There
moment.
is,
What's
so-
going on? No, I like your theory. And it did coincide with Carlton's
100%.
rejuvenation.
And Melbourne aren't as bad as what they're going. They need to remember
Because
that.
everyone will write them off now with no
Correct.
Petracca, and we'll
Yeah.
touch on that a bit later. But everyone will write them off now and say their season's done. So maybe
And I
there is a
feel
little
like,
bit in them.
You know, Maxi Gorn could go back to the days where he was punching durries on the way to training. Like, just everybody wind back the clock a little bit.
I worry
and you'll
about
be
Melbourne
better for
though
it.
socially because it was only 2 years ago when they had the
Damo.
entrecote evening.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
And,
Well,
and that was in a way to try and break some ice and break some, you know,
Well, that was breaking
barriers
jaws
and-
in the end. And we're not subscribing to that either. Violence fixes nothing, Damien, but
They're
a couple
dangerous.
of beers around a campfire does.
Can fix a lot.
Or wherever Melbourne go, they'll be stopping by BWS to get
Mad not
those
to.
honesty frothies as well. Damo, your news is coming up next, and we're going to stick with Melbourne. A nasty injury to Christian Petracca. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Round 14 predictions, fair Dinkum or Fugazi. That is all still to come on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Daisy and Damo, all thanks to BWS. But now it is time for some news. And the Melbourne Kings' birthday loss was compounded by a nasty injury to Christian Petracca, Damo.
Yeah, it was, Rabsy, and there's I suppose, faceted fallout to what happened on this occasion. And the initial story obviously went the injury to Petracca. It took him out of the game, ultimately. Then you just explore a bit further when that was diagnosed, days with broken ribs, lacerated spleen, punctured lung, internal bleeding. And I've got a pretty strong view, and I know I'm the non-footballer in the conversation, so I'm keen to get the football aspect of it. But I've got a view in that moment, and this is what I felt at the time of the injury, not upon reflection once we knew how bad the damage was. But there needed to be someone taking control of this situation that wasn't Christian Petracca himself wanting to go back on. I think he needed to be looked after in that situation better than he was.
Looked after in what sense?
So
just
for the tough
purely-
decision to be made that Christian, you are not going back on, despite you saying you're clear to and that you want to, and that.
What happens though if he didn't have broken ribs? So then you've ruled
It
out
was
one of
very
your best
clear.
players.
It's very clear that he had something wrong.
Yeah.
And I know I'm a non-medical, okay? And I know that the medical people, rightly so at times, when we, without the professional experience and education in the space, have these types of comments. But I don't think you needed to be a medic to realise there was something really wrong. And he took a long time to get up. He took a long time to take a breath. He took a long time to decide to come back on. And then when he was on, he could not use the left side of his body. He could barely make any form of impact. Now, it is serious because he's in hospital as we speak today. He was taken. It's gone from going back onto the ground to being taken to hospital and now in hospital for multiple days.
Yeah, I'm of the view that in hindsight, it's easier to say it was the wrong decision. And it's similar to kind of Rosie, but obviously not as serious, where once we find out the result, everyone can say, well, they should have done this, they should have done that. But I think I'm with Daisy in this, that at the time, you've got to have those conversations. When you're senior players, you have the conversations with the doctors, and it's a mutual decision. And at the end of the day, it's up to the player, where the doctor doesn't know exactly how sore Christian Petracca is or what the symptoms are for a Connor Rosie. It's up to the player at the end of the day to make the decision whether they feel they can go out there or not. There would be a lot of players, Damo, that wouldn't have gone back out there. I can promise you that. Heaps that wouldn't. And there are some that maybe are too tough for their own good or too competitive for their own good, where they say, no, I think I can push through. And there'd be heaps of players, Daisy, that have pushed through injury and performed and had impact. And sometimes, yes, in hindsight, they get it wrong. And this was one of those situations where clearly he shouldn't have gone back out there, but you've got to have trust in these medics and the players to make decisions at the time that they feel is the right one.
Yeah, and it's not as hard to diagnose as a ACL or something where you can quickly do a test. No doubt they would have pushed and prodded and said, geez, I'm sore, but are you happy to go out? Let's try it for 15 minutes, which they did. You could see once he clearly got back out there that he wanted no part in any contact, rightfully so. And then at halftime, once I reckon that he sat down, cooled down a bit, the adrenaline, the little bit of shock his body might have gone into has taken away, and the pain that then he would have been in, he's then come off and said, no, I'm no good. And from there on out, the right protocols, if you will, were taken.
If there's a fortunate aspect of this whole saga, it is that he didn't get contacted seriously again. And we saw what Braden Maynard regularly does on a footy field. We saw what he did against certain Melbourne people in that game in question. We saw, and he obviously experienced it, Christian Petracca himself, what a knee of Darcy Moore can do in that moment. He didn't get another one of those moments. I would have hated now to have thought what would have happened had that happened again.
Ridiculously brave, though. To go back out there, it is, you talk about players with courage and the way they go about it, and there's names that jump to the front of your head. Christian Petracca, that is as courageous as it gets.
And then you get to the absence now that will be for multiple weeks. How long, we don't know. Melbourne will update us on the run. But the form of Clayton Oliver is an issue. Now Christian Petracca is out. Obviously, Angus Brayshaw retiring in the off-season, and then the decisions made when they still felt Brayshaw was going to be part of the mix to trade out James Jordan and Harms as part of their deliberations for this year. Now, I know they're not the biggest names, those two, but they'd be getting games now, I'd think, in this Melbourne midfield.
I don't subscribe so much that Clayton Oliver's out of form. The numbers-wise, in terms of him getting the footy, what he's doing with it is the issue. So for him, I think the bye comes at a perfect stage, although we took the piss off the top.
Just on that's a pretty big call, because he's not the Clayton Oliver who's won four best and
he's not,
fairest.
But if you
in
take
6
everything
seasons.
into consideration, the limited preseason he had, the way he's been away from the club for large portions, no doubt he'll be slightly underdone in everything he's doing in terms of recovery, getting in, fronting up each week. no matter how hard you train away from the football club, it would never replicate what you do in season at a club in pre-season. For him to now have a bye, I think he's going to have a massive back half of the season with those reasons. He'll rest up now, he'll recover, his body will be better. We know he carried a hand injury for a large portion of that. No doubt that's sort of taken a toll as well. I've got full belief that he can get back to playing his absolute best footy, because finding the footy is never an issue. It's just what he's doing with it, making some decisions around that. No doubt he can be a big part of Melbourne's back half of the year.
This is Simon Goodwin's biggest challenge as coach now, to try and get something out of this team the back half of the year, because they looked a bit dispirited. They look like they've lost a bit of belief and confidence in their system and their DNA and what they stand for and how they want to play. So he's got his work cut out, not only with the game plan, but also then getting everyone the buy-in, the belief that, you know, this team can still make a run at it, and now add it on without their second best player or best player in the team, that they're going to have a big challenge on their hands.
When's Jakey Malcolm back?
3 to 4 weeks, I think.
And again, they are screaming out for somebody to come at the kicker in the forward line. They get enough ball in there, but there's nobody leading up at the kicker.
We love Jakey. You can't say Jake Melksham at 33 years of age, 32. He's going to be the difference for Melbourne.
Well, somebody who leads at the football. Ben Brown, you've got to find an option to lead at the football, because that's the issue.
So for the third consecutive MCG match coming up on Saturday afternoon at 4:30, the beautiful twilight slot now, which is becoming very attractive to a lot of people, supporters and footballers themselves, we'll have an 80,000 crowd at that particular venue for Dustin Martin's 300th game. It's a massive occasion. The build-up's going to be huge, and there could be a bonus for Dusty with the possibility, as we speak, we time-coded, it's Wednesday afternoon, or late morning, Tom Lynch could be back. It's big. It's big news.
It is big news. It's a massive occasion. I hope we just take a moment to enjoy Dusty, like I think we spoke about with Buddy Franklin and Gary Ablett Jr., while they're still playing. Embrace what they have brought to this game. I mean, I've seen some highlights this week, and you get tingles looking at some of those goals and the impact that he's had in the biggest moments and what it's done for the Richmond fans. Congratulations to him, one of the greatest to ever play the game, and it should be well celebrated on Saturday.
The best big game player in the modern era. Comfortably sits there.
Could say all time.
Yeah, all time. And as you say, I think we probably won't appreciate what he's actually done for the game until it's probably 5 years post. So a nice weekend to celebrate what's been a bloody awesome career, 300 games, tip of the cap. The resume speaks for itself.
Yep. Tom Stewart, I just wanted to ask you guys, 7 completed seasons in the AFL system as a late starter, 5 of those seasons ending with an All-Australian gong for him. 4 occasions at least this year, it may even be more, but 4 occasions, the most recent one being James Jordan, assigned him pre-match to play a stop role on him. It's worked for James Jordan. It worked previously with McEntee and O'Halloran and Long on other matches. So I take the view, guys, that the greats, and I put Tom Stewart in that category, 5 All-Australians out of 7 seasons, I put him in that category. They work a way through. But right now, a bit with what you just said about Simon Goodwin, the pressure's on him right now. Equally, it's on Tom Stewart to find a way pretty quickly.
Yeah, it is, because really, the first time he's going to have to hit, for the first time, I think, in big parts of his career, he actually has to defend an opponent. Like, the system is set, the Geelong system has been set around Tom Stewart to be the free player and to be able to do his thing. So for me, there's an element, I think, for a while where he has to almost park the ego a little bit and go, right, my primary role is just to beat my opponent and not have the 10 intercepts and be the best player on the ground that I've had a lot of opportunity to do, because as a defender, you don't get that luxury. Most defenders don't get that luxury. Now, he's had that more than most. So for a while, I think he's just got to probably strip it back, go back to basics, and then let the game sort of grow a little bit rather than trying to do too much despite having an opponent on him. Because you're right, it's affecting his play and it's affecting the team.
Chris Scott's got to find another option to that point, because if you take away their strength, which is the interceptor, you can get good looks.
They can let someone else do it. Zach Guthrie can do it.
And that's what I mean. They need to find another way to replicate that.
Jack Henry.
Jack Henry could do it.
Find somebody who can play the spare role, so you don't know who you're going to sit on. So if they go and then sit on a Henry, Stewart's free. If they go and sit on a Guthrie, Henry's free, and then you can manipulate it that way. Just putting the wholly and solely blame on Tom Stewart probably lacks a little bit.
Yep. I know you guys discussed this on the Sunday Rub, and I heard a fair bit of it, but I just wanted to now do it Wednesday Rub style. The Ross the Boss versus Dimmer Hardwick, and the narrative post-match, I suppose more than during match, about the stinkfest that game actually was. The St Kilda v Gold Coast game, it was a hard watch, and the retrofitting, I think, of who's to blame is fascinating, given we're dealing with 2 bulls in paddocks here.
I'll speak honestly, because Ross hasn't reached out to me to try and dictate the narrative.
I have not spoken. I have not spoken to anyone at St Kilda. Don't do that. I've not spoken to anyone. Just doing my own analysis. That's all it
you haven't
is.
spoken to anyone. Have you received some correspondence?
No, not at all. No. I've not spoken to anyone.
That was a piss.
Or heard from anyone.
You didn't have to defend it so fiercely.
No, some people believe you do.
No, sorry. Kickings. The fact that the Gold Coast Suns fell into Ross's trap.
Yeah.
Now, you can say it parked the bus or whatever it is. They took away Gold Coast's strength, which was trying to move the ball through the corridor. They Gold Coast Suns tried to do it early, resulted in turnovers for St Kilda. They didn't make them pay, but from there, the Gold Coast Suns shut up shop with ball movement, took the easy option, which is what Ross gave them, and that's why they ended up kicking into large numbers. So, was it parking the bus, or was it just the way they had to defend as the Gold Coast moved the ball? I subscribe more to Gold Coast fell into a little bit of the trap.
Well, I think what it's done, the way Dimmer approached it, is it's shown other clubs that Dimmer hates if teams do, like want to sort of slow them down and actually let them kick the ball around and not get caught up in a shootout. Because Gold Coast want to play the turnover game, the Richmond model, up and back, up and back. So I think Dimmer's exposed a little bit. Hey, if you take that away from us, I don't like that. Okay. So that might be something that other teams look at. But no, I didn't subscribe to it when we did the game at the time, and certainly post. When you're the team that's had the fourth most entries for the round and you've kept the opposition to the fourth least for the round, that's a pretty strong system when you're turning the ball over through the midfield. So it wasn't like St Kilda were just sitting back and allowing the Gold Coast to have all these entries and they were just defending in their D50. They defended from the front half, which is how you want to play the game. They've just got issues, massive issues, in their forward 50 and trying to find an avenue to goal.
Round 14 predictions still to come, but up next it's fair income or Fugazi and Triple M Footy's midweek rub with Joey, Daisy and Damo. Joey Montagna, Carlton need to leave Zach Williams forward.
Yep, fair income. It certainly worked. It's a different avenue to goal. I like his forward craft. He competes. He gets front and square. He finds ways to bob up. I think it's been a good find and a nice addition to the Blues forward line.
Damo, the Crows extended Matthew Nick's contract too early.
Fugazi, the fact they did has, I feel, allowed them to get through to this point of this season, which is underwhelming to them. And there's no talk, and I agree with the talk, and I think it's valid that Matthew Nicks gets one more year once they made the commitment to him for 2025 as well. So Fugazi.
Daisy, Hawthorn are now more likely to make the finals than Melbourne.
Oh, I will go with fair income on that. What have they had? The 6 wins so far. Probably only need another 6 or 7 on the way home. Their draw includes Richmond, West Coast Crows, Tigs and North Melbourne on that sort of run. So realistically, you win most of those in the form they're in, plus you pinch one. It's going to be harder for Melbourne than it is the Hawks.
It's been an incredible turnaround the last 5-6 weeks.
We spoke about, from where they started, they were genuinely clumped in the same category as North Melbourne and West Coast. Those three that was, are they going to win a game? And I was one of the people that subscribed to that 4 rounds in. It was horrible to watch.
Well, 0-5. 0-5 and now won 5 of 7.
And fun to watch now. Some of the games they don't win pretty, but they've got a lot of good players that you want to watch.
Joey, Geelong need to move Jeremy Cameron back inside 50.
I think that's Fugazi. I think he is better when he gets up the ground and can roam still. And he'll still kick his 2 or 3 pushing back inside 50. Talk about the free-range chickens. I think you got to let him go. Let him just roam. Let him do his own thing. That's when he's at his best. He's just got to find his very best form.
Can you put Henry forward and Jezza back to help out Tom Stewart?
No, not in the back line. No, they're just got to rely on Ollie Henry. Gary Rowan to play a bit more footy now. Ollie Henry to play. They've still got Shannon Neal or Tom Hawkins. I think Jez has got to do his thing up the ground.
I thought Jez was okay.
He was.
More than okay against Sydney last week.
Yep.
Damo, the Blues should leave Tom de Koning in as their number 1 ruck.
Absolutely fair income. There's I still feel there'll be a spot, a horses for courses type of arrangement for Mark Pittonet, but the raw numbers show that without Pittonet, Tom de Koning is 7 wins, 0 losses. With de Koning, the scoreline for the club is 2 wins, 4. Sorry, with Pittonet, it's 2 and 4. They're just the raw numbers. We know what the raw numbers don't do, and it's what we see with our own eyes, and what Tom de Koning did in the most recent game, particularly in the 4th quarter against Essendon last weekend, says he's the man.
Mm-hmm. Daisy, the AFL changing interpretations on the fly intensifies umpire scrutiny.
I think that's fair income. Yep, for sure. We now have less clarity, I think, than what we probably did before, and there's more up to interpretation really on the umpire as to how quickly they blow a whistle for one bloke as opposed to the other 3 that are out there. It makes their job nigh on impossible to get right, I think.
Yeah, there's been no less confusion for me with the change of interpretation. It's still as confusing as ever. It's just that the whistle's blown a little bit quicker. So it's
sometimes, though.
Yeah, exactly right. There's been no clarity off the back of this.
Joey, the Bulldogs have seriously missed Ed Richards.
Yeah, that's fair income as well. He's become an absolute jet as an inside midfielder. Point of difference to Libba and Bont. Desperately need him back. He was in great form. So hopefully with his return, Dogs can start winning again.
I'm not going to ask you this, Daisy, because you got your rivalry because of the weddings. But Joey, still side bottom, deserves another year.
Oh.
Now, take off the fact that you hate Collingwood and you love to shoot Bambi.
No. I was one that said very strongly that the side bottom move to half-back would be a win for Collingwood. It's certainly been the case, but not yet. I'd re-sign him. You've got to wait the full light of day, end of the season, where they finish up, other senior players, what it all looks like. So I just wait till the end of the year. There's no rush. Hold off.
Damo, no one has a bigger gap between their best and worst games than Eric Hipwood.
Question without notice, as these are. I'm just trying to... yeah, look, I'll have to say fair dinkum on that, because if you
The
were
bloke
to...
next to him is a candidate in Big Joe.
Oh,
come on.
What, in
Joe's
terms
been
of
more consistent.
Best and worst?
Yeah.
Oh.
Joe kicked 60 goals last year.
Yeah, but he can kick
He
80
stood
or
up,
he
he
can
stood up in the
none.
grand final
Yeah,
too.
yeah, I know.
He's right
He's
up in the grand
yeah.
final. No, I think it's fair dinkum, because you see Hipwood play last week from St Arnaud Ford and kick 6 goals against a good team going into the game in the Bulldogs, and then you also see him struggle to get 6 kicks in a game. So, yeah, fair dinkum.
Daisy, Pat Rafter upstaged JB massively on the Big Freeze slide.
Or Fugazi, massively is a big call. He was good, JB. I think he did enough. He gave a
was
little
good.
bit of sizzle as well, provided some entertainment.
Some
The
riz, as you call it.
The outfit was good. So, Pat he won the votes here at Triple M. But
Yep.
well done to everybody, and well done to everyone who bought a beanie or contributed financially as well.
Yeah, they raised that extra $3 million confirmed
Brilliant.
yesterday as well. which is
$100
brilliant.
million raised.
Crazy.
Incredible.
Joey, after Alex Neil-Bullen's success, teams should send their best runner to Nick Dacos every week.
You're trying to really upset the Collingwood fans, aren't you, when you ask me these questions? Of course they should tag Nick
Oh,
Dacos.
Joey.
Of course they
Jeez,
should.
you hate Collingwood.
What is it?
He's the best player in the competition. Of course you've got to try and stop his influence. So, yes, that is fair dinkum.
Do you reckon Finn McGuinness is getting a bit annoyed?
Yeah,
he started
to him.
He started it. He was the original blanket.
Now he can't
when
get a game.
teams weren't doing it.
Yeah.
And now the tag's in and he doesn't even get a look in.
Damo, Hawthorn had one of their many premiership reunions last week, and this is Isaac Smith telling us who was best on.
We're in the box, the Nissan Lounge there for Hawthorn. Big double box at the MCG, and ended up at one of the great hotels, the Glenferrie Hotel. We had a big celebration there where a lot of Jackie Gunston's mates rocked up, and the night went very fast.
Who was best on?
Right, Jay Roughhead took it.
Ruffy to be best on was surely the shortest price favourite to salute since Winks' heyday.
Yeah. From all the talk that those guys always said, he does turn up on the big games, and he does turn up in the moments to celebrate them rough. So fair dinkum as well. What about Izzy though? So obviously the premiership wins in 13, 14, 15 as a Hawthorn player, then goes to Geelong and then gets the 2 year in the decade, the 22 season. So in years to come, he's going to be going 4 reunions in a row from an AFL sense.
Lucky him.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a real
seriously.
piss take, isn't it?
How good's
Yeah,
that?
and he also claims he's got some other premierships in the country in 5, 6, and 7 as well. So he's every year there's a reunion somewhere.
Good on him.
Joey, this is some audio from last week. I'll stick with you, Damo. Harley Reid's suspension opens the door for North to finally have a win.
Yes.
Fugazi.
I hate North so much.
That
This
club-
is the grand final.
You're right, it is. And it's another game of footy they'll lose.
Damo owes North Melbourne players and fans and officials an apology after that.
This is his moment right now,
The-
Damo. It's absolutely fair dinkum. Look down the barrel of that camera and say, I'm sorry, North Melbourne.
Triple M to ever
Listen,
apologise.
Listen,
Do
I
it.
will apologise when I need to. There's no need for an apology in this moment. Okay, I was wrapped they won. Well done. Make it the benchmark, and let's see how they go against
I'm
Collingwood
sorry.
this week.
I'm sorry.
Are you? What have you
I
done?
Say it, Damo.
I was
Damo, say,
wrong.
I was
I won't be saying that because I wasn't.
We can AI that in, surely.
All right, Damo, this week is the perfect time for Collingwood to play North Melbourne because historically the next win will be 10 weeks away.
It might even be more than that, Rabsy.
So that's fair.
No, you know what? I would love to see them be really competitive. And if Nick Dacos's ankle is still a bit sore and they want to make a decision of a conservative nature on him, which they'd be entitled to do, hey, this could open the door right up to a little surge of North. And then we can then see how they go.
Finally, Daisy Thomas, the kickins.com has made its way into the entertainment world in Australia.
We moved 3,000 of these dim sims at the London, so I'm hoping to break that record tonight and tomorrow at the G. And they're real stats. They're not just Joey getting kickouts.
Yes. 140,000 views one of his kick-ins had. That is a serious number from Instagram. He's gone viral. And the fact
140K.
and the enjoyment people are getting, not just from his kick-ins, but every football club has a bloke that races to the line. So the amount of blokes tagging other blokes saying, this is you, this is the only way you get a kick, it has been universally embraced. And I would be surprised, and it's probably neglect of BWS or one of the great sponsors, if they don't jump on board. You need sponsorship for it, Joey. Are you running it?
No, I'm not running it at all.
Well, are you running it? Because you started
Well,
this.
I know.
You did
hate
start.
him
It's
to
your fault.
Yeah. And the frustration in his face.
He's not happy, is he? He's
He
putting a
hates
smile
it.
on his face.
Yeah.
He said, oh, yeah, funny,
It's
but
through
deep down
gritted
you're
teeth.
hurting, aren't you?
I was gonna.
That was a Ross.
I was gonna say something, but I won't. No, I won't. I'll save it.
Say it.
Round 4. If you say sorry,
Yeah.
he'll say what he said.
I don't need to say sorry, but he needs to say something.
Round 14 predictions coming up next is Triple M Footy's midweek run. Round 14 kicks off Friday night at the Gabba, Brisbane versus St Kilda. I'm going to start with you, Damo, for this game. It's a huge game for the Lions. They're back on track.
Yeah, I saw enough last week to make me feel they're going to make a really good fist of the back half of this season after what they did against the Bulldogs. And while I know that Ross were trying to shut it down on Friday night, I think Brisbane will be way too strong.
I agree. I'm all in on Brisbane this back half of the season. I think this is another really nice opportunity. Dougal Howard being out with that hamstring injury presents for Joe Danaher or Eric Hipwood to stand up again. So I'm really looking forward to what Brisbane can do, and I think they win comfortably.
It's not just a feel or belief. Their profile at the moment, second best behind Sydney. Their numbers are really stacking up. So I think they will make a charge as well. Saints have won
Behind
2 on the
Sydney?
Yeah, they're second best. Over the last 6 weeks, their profile is second best in the comp. So St Kilda can't win this one.
1:45 Saturday, Marvel Stadium. This is a huge game. Western Bulldogs versus Fremantle, Daisy.
It is. I just don't trust the Western Bulldogs. It's as simple as that. Their record last month is win-loss, win-loss. Look, you can't. They only had back-to-back wins once this season. It's hard to see. They could prove me wrong and make me look stupid because they have the ability to do that, but I'll just take Freo on trust.
Freo are the sneaky good team in this comp that are sneaking up on a few. I think that they've discovered their mojo offensively off the back of their contest and defence, which has been elite all year. I think they win.
Yeah, coming off a massive win, a 92-point win, then the bye, I think they'll be nice and fresh for this. And they've got no reason to fear any club anymore. And Bulldogs, they'll handle.
No, Norton and Darcy does hurt the Bulldogs as well. Richmond versus Hawthorn. Dusty's 300th. Maybe Tom Lynch back.
Yeah, that's
Joey?
going to be a big inclusion. Looks like Prestia at this stage is going to be out. The Hawks, though, are just full of confidence. Love the way they go about it. You know, they've got a lot of smart footballers. Smart footballers take you a long way. Obviously, that's a reflection of their coach. I think Hawthorn continue on their winning ways.
I'm happy just to take this one purely for the theatre. Richmond for me.
I'm going to do it for the same reasons alone. The logic says Hawthorn, but Dusty, big game, which it now is, obviously. Tigers.
I'm going to stick with you, Damo. The pressure is starting to mount on the Crows back in Adelaide, and they host Sydney, top of the table.
It is. Look, 2 weeks ago, I would have contemplated picking the Crows, but you just cannot tip the Crows at the moment against the team that is on absolute fire. It Swans easily.
It'd have to be a drastic change for Adelaide to be more than competitive in this.
Yeah, no pressure on them for this one. It's a free hit, to be fair. The only way it'll build is if they get beaten by 100 plus. But otherwise, yeah, they've just got nothing to lose. No one expects them to win.
North Melbourne versus Collingwood, our Sunday rub game, Daisy, 1 o'clock at Marvel Stadium.
I look forward to seeing who purple tips in this one. Collingwood for me. They should be too good. And I think with the bye coming up for them, this is an opportunity. Their only percentage once they win this off second, I believe. Where are they? 32, to 36 Carlton. So they'll be even on points and then percentage. So a chance to make up some percentage against the Roos.
Hope the Roos are competitive, obviously, but Collingwood.
Yeah, we want a competitive game for the Sunday rub, but Collingwood will be starting to make their move into the top 4 for sure.
And rounding out a very short round 14 is the Giants versus Port Adelaide. This is also a pretty big game.
This is a big game. Two teams that, geez, they are hard to trust at the moment. I've always had a lot of faith in the Giants, but they're playing some average footy. I think they've only won 2 of their last 7. But I'm going to continue to stick fat with GWS. I think it will turn. Their talent, their system, And their coaching, I all rate heavily. So I think that at home, this might be the week that starts to get the ball rolling for a big second half of the season.
Giants for me for the exact same reasons. Although I had the same reasons on tipping Melbourne last week against Collingwood, as in they will respond and they didn't. I'm assuming the GWS will.
I'm on board as well.
17 degrees and sunny in Sydney on Sunday is not bad conditions for that game.
What a delight.
Can we get a certainty and a surprise for this shortened round, please, boys?
Yep, I will give you Collingwood as my certainty, and the surprise will be the Western Bulldogs to beat Fremantle.
Brisbane will win, and my surprise will be Freo to beat the Bulldogs.
Brisbane to be the certainty for me, and Port Adelaide could be the surprise, but I'm still tipping GWS.
As always, you can listen to every game on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with Brisbane versus St Kilda from the Gabba following the Friday huddle with Damo, Mark Howard, Jason Dunstall, Luke Darcy and Nathan Brown. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Wrap.